Well, good morning, everyone. Jerry here, or Tahitian Big Kahuna, depending on which social media. Whoop, turn off my monitor for YouTube there. There we go. Okay. Well, let's give it a couple of more minutes, see if a few more people chime in. That would be lovely. And I guess I can stop the ticker here. There we go. So anyhow, hopefully there'll be a couple of good questions this morning. And of course, I'm going to take about 5-10 minutes prior to question and answer time and just go through the topic today, which is going through LAX, Los Angeles International Airport. And a lot of you come through LAX, and I know some of you have heard this or you've seen my blog and or my Spotify stuff, and it's on there as well. But again, this is one of those topics that will come up often, so I will do this often. So anyhow, let's give it again another minute here, and hopefully we'll get a few more people watching. In the meantime, I'm going to enjoy my cup of coffee, and like I say, hopefully somebody's going to ask a couple of good questions this morning. Anyhow, um, you can always reach me again while we're waiting here. You can always reach me my email address right there. If you have a question or something beyond this or so forth, you can contact me. And I do check my email often during the day. So if you email me, you will get a response. Okay. And again, or yeah, let's just keep it at tahitianbigkahuna@gmail. That's fine. So again, let's give it 30 more seconds here, and then we'll get on with this. Usually a lot of people come in late or so forth, and so it's not uncommon to wait a couple of minutes here before we move forward. By the way, the picture that's behind me right there, that is the or taken from the Intercontinental Resort on Tahiti, and in the behind me there, oops, is the island of Moorea, which is 11 miles away across the Sea of the Moon, as they say, and one of my favorite resorts. And I talked about that last week. And I know there was a little bit of an audio issue too. I think I found the problem. In fact, let me check my setting here really quick to make sure that it's coming through well. Testing 1, 2. Yep, it looks good. All right. So hopefully you guys are hearing me just fine this morning. So let's move on with this. And if we have a few stragglers, we have a few stragglers. So anyhow, let me share a screen here because we're going to talk about LAX here for about 10 minutes. And let's see, share screen. I'm going to do this one right there. We go. Okay, so this is obviously at this is a tag. Let me excuse me. Let's do that again. It has a mind of its own sometimes. So for you that are coming into LAX via some other place in the country or Canada or something, and coming to LAX to grab your flight to Papiete, some of the airlines, like American and so forth, they have a cooperative deal with Air Tahiti Nui. Air France does that again with Delta. And so if you are going or flying into LAX to catch your flight to Papiete, but you're starting, or let's say you're starting in New York or Atlanta or wherever you are, make sure if it's a code share thing and they are putting your luggage all the way through to Papiete, and it looks like this one right here to Papiete via LAX here. Don't have it just say LAX because it will not be forwarded on to Papiete. So make sure again that's the way your tag that goes on your bag should look right there. Really important. You don't want to be having to grab your bags all of a sudden at LAX and then drag it all the way back down to the international terminal and only have to go through the process of re-tagging it again and going through security and everything else. So let's just make sure it looks like that. Let's move on with another. Let's see here. By the way, if you're on Air Tahiti Nui, this is where it usually is. It's in part B of the international terminal. That's what it'll look like right there. If you look up there, it'll say B. So at the beginning down there, make sure you're in the the B area right here and just go towards the, because here, if you go around the corner and go up the stairs, you're going towards the TSA. But anyhow, that's where Air Tahiti Nui is. Okay. Let's see, what else do I want to show you? Let's go with different pictures here. So, whoop, let's go. Well, let's go with this one. Whoop, hang on here. Nah, nope, don't do that. Let's do that. And let me enlarge this here. All right, this is the LAX airport and the Tom Bradley terminals here. Tom Bradley, terminal one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, and so forth, and then the regional terminals. So they've made a lot of improvements over the last few years at LAX. It is a working process. It's been going on for some time. And one of the main ideas they needed to do here was to make sure there was access to all the terminals without having to come out of secured area and having to go back through a TSA at a different terminal. So right now there is a from with Tom Bradley here, there is a walking area here, and I'll show it to you on another map to access 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 right here. Now they've also added a little corridor without having to go out of the secured area at the Tom Bradley or in. It goes to Terminal 3, 2, and 1, and it's behind the TSA. So let's say you came into Terminal 1. Let's say you're on Southwest or whatever, but you're heading up. You do not need to go through or out the secured area. Behind the TSA, there is a walking corridor that you could take all the way over to the Tom Bradley terminal. Okay. Let me show it to you on a different one here. Let's see. Okay. On terminals 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, here's the Tom Bradley terminal here. Right here, there's a little corridor, a papai. I like their story and things like that. Here's your TSA for uh, Terminal 4, 5, 6. You get the idea here. But you can walk down here, and there is a tunnel access right here in Terminal 4, and it goes over to 5 and 6. And then from here, if you're going, let's say, to 7 or 8, you'll come back up to the Terminal 6. You continue to walk. Before you go out the TSA secured area, there's another little corridor here that'll go over to Terminal 7 and 8. So that's a little help here. Let's see if I have it. I don't want to do it that way. Let's show it here. All right, so here's the gates at Tom Bradley and so forth, the secured area and so forth. So they've done a lot of improvements here, all sorts of new stores and restaurants and everything else to get to all your gates and everything else. And that whole shopping area, restaurants is all right here. And the lounges, the international lounges go up. It's, I think, on the highest step there. You can go up there and so forth. By the way, that's what it looks like economy and Air Tahiti Nui, just so you know that's there. All right. Yeah, I do want to show this here, and I'm going to make this enlarged because here's where you go through when you're coming back in, you're going through customs and so forth, and they route you through there, ask you some more questions and so forth, and then you finally come out to your carousels and so forth, and you grab your bag and continue on. Now, before you go out of the secured area, use your baggage claim. Right here, Terminal 4. There's the little walking path to over to Terminal 4, and it's before you come out of the secured area, right? You're still in a secured area right here. It's not until you go through these doors right here, you go out to the street area. So right when you come through here, you will see the sign. There's usually it'll say baggage drop off right here. And then here's the corridor that goes over to TSA. Remember, when you're coming back in, you have to go through security again. You have to go through customs. So you're going to have to gather your bags and go through customs. But let's say again, if you're on Delta or let's say American or something like that via a code share, then of course you can just drop your bag off right here and it will go to your next destination. Then you walk through the corridor here. There's also a connecting to the other terminals right here. There's now right off here, there's a corridor that goes off to terminals. Let's see here. One, two, and three. Hopefully that helps a little bit here. Let me move this down here. See if there's anything else I want to share. I slipped in there, but anyhow, when you get to Faha International through customs, um, realize if you're in the back of the plane, it takes a little while. If you're in the sort of the front of the plane or in business, it goes rather quickly. But there is a locker service they just opened at Faha International right when you come out of customs. You'll be right there and you'll see it. So you can store your bags in there for the day, or let's say you're coming in on the red eye and you can't claim your stuff to get on the ship until 3 o'clock. You could put it right here. And then rent a car or something, run around for 6 hours around Tahiti or whatever. You get the idea. Grab another taxi, go someplace else, come back, grab your bags, and head to the ship or whatever. You get the idea. So let me close this down here. Let me just put my mug, and here we go. So that's just a little presentation. I know it wasn't too much here, but again, the main thing here is when you're going through LAX, just know there are now access from all terminals, all domestic terminals, to the international terminal without having to go out of the secured area. That's a biggie. Now, if you go out of the secured area, you can take the bus, terminal bus from terminal to terminal, but then you would have to go back to the TSA again. Again, the idea, hopefully, is you pick an airline that has a code share with the airlines that you're going to fly over to Papeete. And again, usually with, like, say, your Tahiti Nui, that is usually going to be American. And with Air France, that will be Delta. Delta also is running direct flights, code shared with Air France. So just, again, just know you don't have to go through security a second time. You can access the Tom Bradley International Terminal from all other terminals at LAX. So it is question and answer time. And if you got a question, I'll try to do my best. We put it on comments here. And that was me saying good morning to everybody. So if you have a question, you access it on the YouTube under the comments or the chat section down there. Right now, I just put one up there a little bit ago. Tahitian Kahuna, it just says, good morning, everyone. Right there, under there, there's a little chat bar. You can put your question in there, and I'll try to answer it. Now, it can be anything in French Polynesia or the Cook Islands. It doesn't have to be just on the little topic this morning. So if you have a question about hotels, if you have a question about where you think restaurants, or if you have a question about the islands or anything like that, or the cruise ships, as long as it's not asking you too much detailed information, I will answer it. Or even if it is about detailed, I'll share something, or at least point you in the right direction. So if you have a question this morning, please do it there under the chat or the comment section on YouTube. I will do my best to answer it. Again, no questions yet. So we got back 3 weeks ago, of course, from our 34th trip to French Polynesia. Had a lovely time. And we're leaving again in 6 weeks? Actually, less than 6 weeks now. We're heading back to French Polynesia to hop on the Starbreeze. We're going up to the Marquesas run. And so, hey, I go there 2 or 3 times a year. It was a promise I made to my lovely Zell 26 years ago, because it is our anniversary coming up here next month. And reminds me it's her birthday this month, though. So anyhow, it was a promise I made. I said, marry me and I'll take you to French Polynesia every year. And I've kept my promise. Thus, so many trips. So anyhow, I'm waiting for any questions you have here. And I have no idea who's watching or so forth. But again, hopefully somebody has a question. Now, again, I'm going to be doing this every Saturday morning at 7:30 Pacific time right here on YouTube. And again, the idea is to give you a chance to ask me questions, and I'll do my best to answer them. Again, for for you that are on Cruise Critic and found me and so forth, of course, I got to be a little careful on what I do say. I'm not supposed to be soliciting, so I got to be careful what you ask here. And the idea is for you to ask a question and for me to do my best to answer and so forth like that. Every Saturday at 7:30 Pacific time, with the exception if I'm in French Polynesia or something, which is like 2 or 3 times a year. I'll miss a Saturday, but most Saturdays it'll all be right here. And again, 7:30 Pacific time. And so if it's not this today, you want to ask a question next week or the week after. You get the idea. I'm going to make myself very accessible to answer questions and so forth. So again, hopefully we have more people. We have some more people chiming in. Hopefully somebody has a question. And again, if you're going to ask a question, you do it there on the YouTube channel, on my YouTube channel that you're probably watching me on. And under chat or the comment section, you'll see it. I've already put good morning to everyone up there. That's where it's at, right there. You can ask a question and so forth. And I'll do my best to answer it. Okay. It looks like we have no questions yet this morning. So let me blab on a little bit more. Um, Good idea to exchange or have a little bit of local currency before you show up in French Polynesia. Yes, there is an ATM there when you get into Baja International. When you come out of customs, if you turn to your right and go down about 50 yards, 70 yards, you'll see it there along the curb. There is an ATM. There's usually two ATMs, but sometimes one of them may not be working or there's a line because everyone's coming out of that flight like you are, and they're all making, or a lot of them are making a mad dash to the ATM machine. So you may be sitting there, and if you got a truck waiting for you with another group or something like that, they're not going to want to be waiting too long. So my recommendation to you is to always have some local currency before you show up at French Polynesia. Most of the major banks in the United States will exchange for you. I always have a local currency before I show up. The local currency is that. Oop, is that right? Yeah. That's local currency, basically a $10 note. It says 1,000 on it because remember the exchange rate is approximately 100 to 1. So again, you want to make sure it's local currency, XPF, and you can get it at your local bank and so forth like that. But at least enough to initiate your trip. Like I'll have money in to pay the taxi driver. Not all the taxi drivers take credit cards and things like that. But again, they will take U.S. dollars, but they'll give you the exchange at 100 to 1. If you get local currency at your bank or something, it'll be 1. So you get the exchange rate and so forth. There is an exchange place there when you come into Baja International, right when you come out of customs, but the exchange rate is off. You do not want to do it there. If you're going to be in one of the hotels downtown and so forth like that, the following day you go down to one of the banks and use their exchange and so forth. Okay, no questions. I'm baffled here. No one has just any type of question for me this morning. Okay, I don't see anything. Uh, we'll continue on here a little bit longer. And that's interesting. Everyone wants information and everything else. And then you make yourself really accessible and like, where'd everyone go? It's not time for professional sports or the playoffs or golf or anything right now. That's one reason why I do it. It's 7:30 on a Saturday morning. It's before, it doesn't even matter if you're on the East Coast, it's 10:30, but usually that's before most of the major sports get going or the collegiate sports and so forth like that. Thus the time for 7:30 Pacific time. So it looks like we have no questions. So we'll call it a day and I'll go have my breakfast. I'm going to give it 30 more seconds here just to see if there's a question that pops up. And then I will go have breakfast. Nothing. Look at that. Unbelievable. Hopefully you all could see and hear me just fine, which I assume you can. It looks like it's all running right on my end. Yeah, I know I can hear myself because I had my volume up a little earlier. Any questions? Any questions? No questions. Okay, so we're going to call it a day. Whoop, hang on here. Hello there, Walter. Hi, Jerry. I'm going to be seeing you fairly soon. Excuse me. We're almost on the home stretch, Walter, for that cruise coming up and so forth. And again, no questions, Walter. But you've been on there, you've been on the bog again before, so obviously there's not too much to ask and things like that. You pretty much know it. So again, I didn't expect any big questions from you, but nobody else. So again, we will call it a day. And Walter, you can always get a hold of me anytime you want. It's one of the nice things about uh, how are the excursions for September 27th? Is the question Walter's asking. Hey, everything's planned. You know that. Lovely excursions. You know, Walter, it's a little early. I will be sending out the list here, probably in about a month, probably sometime here in July, because I don't want to do it too early. I just want to see if there's any other people that sign up or anything like that. So I have a complete list. But we will be doing a get together for the September 27th cruise. It will be coming up here again in July. I will make sure the list goes for the excursions go out to everyone prior to that get together. Okay. So hopefully that answered your questions here. I know I thought I already sent it out once, but again, you there you go. You're welcome, Walter. All right. Any other questions from anyone else this morning before we call it a day? No? Okay. Well, then we're going to call it a day. Again, you can always reach me there at the Gmail address right there, Tahitian Big Kahuna at Gmail. And uh, if you got something you want to ask me that's outside of this particular forum, feel free to contact me, and I will always answer your emails. Okay. So again, we're going to call it a day. You all have a wonderful weekend. Talk to you later. Bye bye.